direct from the Big Easy, and celebrating 100 years of the National Automobile Dealers Association in New Orleans, this is NADA 100 Live. Here's your host.
With continuing coverage from New Orleans, Louisiana, here's your host, Allison Musante, with the Women Dealers Panel.
Everybody, thank you for joining me. Today I have three automotive rock stars. We're going to discuss some of the challenges, obstacles, and experiences that we've all had while in a male-dominated industry. First, I have here with me Jennifer Briggs. Jennifer is a Top 40 Under 40 honoree from 2015. She has over 15 years retail experience. She transitioned from accounting to the marketing director of 8 stores, which wasn't an easy task. She'll tell us a little bit more about that. She recently joined the vendor space as an experienced in building SaaS models and custom solutions. Thank you for joining us today. Yeah. Second, I have Liza Borges. She's a 4th generation and CEO of Carter Myers Automotive. Since she's joined the family business, they've doubled in size with 13 dealerships in 3 cities and represents 15 new car franchises. She's a real power, it's got some real horsepower here. She originally started on the wholesale side and worked 7 years for American Honda Motor Company. Thank you for joining me today. Last but not least, I have Alicia Kellum. She's a fellow NADA Dealer Academy alumni. She's a managing partner of Don Williamson Nissan in Jacksonville, North Carolina. She's an active member of NCADA Board of Directors as well as the president of their Next Gen group. She actively participates in grassroots efforts on both the state and federal level. We'll talk more about that later. But I really am so thankful that you guys joined me. I know it was a last minute request, but thank you for taking your time out. The first question that I'm going to ask each of these ladies, and I think everybody wants to know, what made you decide to choose a career in automotive? And I'll start with you first, Jennifer.
I was just going to do it for 2 years. I was friends with the family of the group that I worked for, and they needed some help. They were converting DMS systems. And with my background, they thought it would be perfect. So 2 years, and now we're a lot longer than that. So,
Liza?
Well, I guess my story was a little bit more obvious. Is that better? I'm being a 4th generation dealer. My family's been in the business since 1924. But I will say that my plan was not to necessarily go into the family business. In fact, there was a joke when I met my husband. I was 22. We were living in Southern California, and I was working for American Honda. And I told him, I said, I might get married one day. I definitely don't want to have children. I'm definitely not moving back to Virginia, and I'm definitely not going in the family business. And now we're very happily back in Charlottesville with 2 kids, both of us working in the business, and wouldn't have it any other way. But I think that the couple things that drove me to come back to the retail side, one, working on the wholesale side, you moved around a lot. We never really got connected to a community. About every 2 years, American Honda was moving us around the country. And as I got to know a lot of dealers, a lot of Honda dealers, and I saw what wonderful businesses they were able to create and families that they were able to help, both from an employment standpoint and from being involved in their communities, that drove me to really want to get settled somewhere. So as my husband and I were getting married, we couldn't think of a better place to be than back in Virginia, and my dad was kind enough to give us the opportunity to come to business.
That's very nice. And
I'm also a 2nd generation dealer, working for my father, and he's always had a passion for the car business, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. But he didn't let me come in easily, so I had to go away and work at another dealership. I actually worked at 2 different stores before coming back home and working for my father in the family business. So
that was very interesting. When I was talking to both of you ladies yesterday, we met briefly just to go over and get to know one another. You had mentioned that both of your fathers had said, if you want to enter the business, that's fine, but I'm going to want you to start another dealership, another opportunity. I thought that was great. And do you think that that's why you two are both so successful now?
I mean, I think it's the best thing that ever happened to me. It's being a woman in automotive. You have to know more. You have to know your stuff. You have to, people want to know that you have the experience to be able to come back in, especially growing up in the car business. And it's tough for employees that have been there for a long time to realize that you do have experience and you know what you're doing, unless you've gotten that somewhere else and have come back, to show them.
So I would agree. It was the absolute best thing I could have ever done. Working for American Honda, I was able to see dealers across the country and many different ways that a dealership can be run successfully. And so by the time I made the decision to come back or was having that conversation with my father, I knew that there was not just one way to run a dealership. I grew up watching him run a very successful organization, but he also worked 7 days a week. We didn't see a lot of him in the evenings, especially when times were a bit tough. He had a wife who stayed at home and took care of the kids. So I think I was a bit nervous or scared, thinking that that was the way you had to be successful. But by being out there and seeing a lot of other dealer groups, I think it assured me that I would be able to come back and be able to run a dealership and have a family and some sort of a life balance, I guess.
Have it all.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that later. Jennifer, I want to ask you, because you had a very interesting story yesterday. How were you able to transition? You were in the accounting department,
Right.
and then suddenly became the marketing director of 8 stores. So how were you able to transition from each role as your career progressed?
Well, I think one of the things we have a lot of women in accounting departments in our dealerships. I think that's really where the saturation is. And so actually I was waiting to get a contract signed for a store we had just purchased, and my dealer principal walks out and he's like, I saw this light bulb go off over his head. He's like, hang on. Our digital marketing director, which was all that we did no traditional, had just quit, and his light bulb went off and said, hey, she's techie. I had a 2-hour exit interview with this gentleman who was leaving, and that was my entire training. So transitioning in was difficult, but I didn't have anyone to teach me. We didn't have social media like we do now, so I just had to stumble, and I made some mistakes along the way, but I learned from anybody and everybody that I could. So finding magazines, articles. I was telling the ladies how I actually, right out of the gate, I was looking at the website and there was all this stuff at the bottom and I thought it looked messy. And I had the provider take it all off. Well, that was all my SEO text. So we got it back pretty quick. But the transition is you got to just jump in and try it. And that's the only way you're going to learn.
Now, Liza, we had talked about this briefly also. Who was your role model or mentor that helped you advance your career?
Well, I think there were a lot of people along the way, and obviously, and probably for you as well, my parents were number one, and that goes without saying. I'm so fortunate to have been able to work with my dad now for, 14 years that I've been back, and I wouldn't trade a single moment of it. But there were a couple other instrumental people. One through NADA 20 Group, when I came back and joined the company and was running our Volvo dealership, and I was still, to be honest, didn't really know what I was doing at times. But the guys, and they were all guys, we had one other female dealer in the group, they really took me under their wing and taught me everything I needed to know. Another kind of small world story, there's a guy who now works in our company, Matt Walsh is our Vice President of Operations, and he was one of my first managers when I was at American Honda, taught me how to read a financial statement. And he now works for me as my right hand in our company, so there have been a lot of people along the way.
That is an important thing to know.
Yes, it was very helpful.
Alicia, have you had anybody help you along the way? Did you have a mentor?
my dad has been, he's been the biggest cheerleader. I mean, he's the one that I've looked up to my whole life. My dad was actually the 2000 Time Magazine Dealer of the Year, and the first dealer from North Carolina to win that award. So it was, they're big shoes to fill, but it's.
Well, you're doing a great job. You're doing
Have the
an
passion.
absolute
It's been in my
fantastic
blood. So.
Jennifer, now you left the retail space, and I think what women don't realize is there's so many opportunities in automotive. You don't have to just sell cars. You don't have to be in the accounting office. You went to the vendor side. So what made you decide to leave retail?
So I actually had been interviewing. I was making a transition. The group that I was with was shifting away from the strategy that we had built. And actually the gateway for me was actually Mr. Eric Gale sitting out here. because they are Cardinelli Automotive Group, so they have stores and consulting side of things. So he's like, look, it's the same thing. It's just more rooftops. So that pushed me further. But the nice thing for me is I love to help businesses grow. That's what I've done my entire career. So having that opportunity on this side of it, they call it the dark side, right? The vendor side. I get to take my real on the floor experience and doing these things, and I actually get to help educate people all over the country, and that makes me feel good when I can show somebody how to put a bigger profit back down to the bottom line, or I can show them how to be more efficient, or how to help their staff. They can feed their families, or maybe go on a vacation. That fuels me. So I mean, I was scared doing it. I'm not gonna lie, I've been in a dealership a long time. I was a little bit frightened, but I've never looked back, and it's awesome. I love it. I love every second of it. And there are so many opportunities, whether it's in the store with the OEM or on the dark side. There's so much room for us to grow.
Do you think you'll ever come back over to retail?
So I do have a 5-year plan where I'm going to be purchasing my own store. So yes.
That would be a great entrance back for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Now, Alicia, you shared with me you have attracted more women to work for your organization than the average dealer. Do you think there's anything you have done differently, or is it because being a woman running the store that you're just attracting more women?
I do think that being a woman dealer has helped. I mean, I think that I think word gets around, and we're a family dealership that's been in town, my goodness, since my dad's been there since the early 70s. You know, and then we're in a military market as well in Camp Lejeune. So there are a lot of women whose husbands work in the military, and they've come in and wanted to sell cars and are there for maybe a short time or a long time, depending on what their family needs are, if they have kids, and they've been some of my most successful salespeople. We've had managers, internet managers, service people, just a lot of women.
Now, Liza, you shared with me you have 2 female technicians, which I think is just absolutely amazing. So
It was exciting to finally get that point. We've been talking about having female technicians for a long time, and this is the first time we've had 2 now employed for a consistent amount of time where I think they're going to stay. I think the other areas that we've been successful in bringing women in is in our service advisor positions. We are now we're getting close to 50% of our service advisors are female. Finance managers, we've seen a lot of growth in that area with women. I still wish that we had a larger presence of females on our sales floor. We seem to go in spurts. If we have a couple of them, some momentum grows, and usually some word of mouth will end up growing more females, and then we'll have a little bit of a drought. So we still need to do a better job there.
do you think it has something to do with the hours and the demands of weekends? And
It definitely does, and we've continued to try to think outside the box on how do you allow flexible schedules and time while still making sure that we're there when our customers want us to be there.
Right.
It's a hard thing to juggle.
And it's difficult to sell 20 cars a month if you're not there on the weekends, it seems.
Right.
So it's hard to find that balance. Jennifer, this is something that you feel passionate about. Where can dealers find other talented women, such as everybody that's here on this stage right now?
Well, I think that it's not just about going out. Sometimes you need to look inside of your dealership. My experience is that. I mean, I was an accounting clerk, a comptroller. And so, but I was in maybe to the point of obsessive, a little bit past detail oriented. But you have talented women all around, whether it's inside your accounting office, your store, whether it's at the restaurant, down the street. I have handed my business card and recruited through a drive-through because she sounded great and I was looking to hire BDC. So I'm handing my card through the drive-through window at Taco Bell. You just have to open your eyes. They're there, but I think that what we look for sometimes is we want somebody with 20 years experience. We want somebody who already knows it. Well, you're not going to find, you're going to be hard pressed to find a woman that has that much experience on the floor. But if you can find a talented employee, a talented person, and grow them, you'll have more success.
So hire for personality.
We've had a lot of success. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, we have 6 female service advisors right now who all started with us as a receptionist or cashier. And when we saw that their customer skills were good, they had a good personality, they were likable, they came off as trustworthy, you can teach them a lot of the other stuff. But in our Richmond stores, we have 6 service advisors now that started in that cashier receptionist role.
So homegrown, you gotta develop them from within. I agree. Start with the culture of the store, give them an opportunity, put them on their career path, and they make the best employees. That's what happened with you.
Yes,
You started in
happened
the
with me.
office and worked your way. Liza, what are some of the challenges and obstacles that you face being a woman in such a male-dominated industry? Coming in, taking over your dad's store, and doubling the size of it. while you were at
I think in the beginning, maybe it was a challenge more for me mentally than the reality of it. I look at it now as actually a positive. I wish, obviously, we had more females in our business, but I think it's a real advantage. We stand out. We stand out in our communities as female dealers, and it helps from a recruiting standpoint. We stand out with our manufacturers, with our vendor partners. I really use it as an advantage, and I think one of the things that I would tell other women, you don't necessarily have to be one of the guys.
Right.
Like, take advantage of the fact that we are different. We have different strengths sometimes. We can add a different perspective to conversations in 20 groups and dealer advisory boards. So I think it's actually a real advantage at this point.
That's great advice. Alicia, you're one of the panel members here that have a family. How do you find a balance between what you're doing at your store and your home life?
Yeah, that's the toughest thing in the car business, I think, is balance. And between me and my husband, we have 6 children, 5 that are at home, and so trying to run kids back and forth and take care of the family, and then also be able to run a business and be able to coach our employees and our customers is something that that we always struggle with, because sometimes I feel like I don't have enough time at work or I don't have enough time at home. I really just get up early in the morning and get all the stuff done at home that I need to do, and stay up really late at night getting the stuff done at home. But I still cook every night for the kids, and still am able to run and get them to the places they need to go, and then be able to work in the store and have some great employees that stand behind me.
That's key.
Now, Liza, do you have any success stories that you want to share of women that you've helped mentor or have seen them advance their careers while they were working for you?
Well, I think one thing that a lot of women ask, and when they want a mentor, if that's the right relationship, is really this question of work-life balance and how do you do it? A couple of the things that you mentioned, I think it's really important to help share the message that you can't feel guilty that you are going to go home and have dinner with your kids, that you can work very smart and not have to necessarily work 7 days a week and every night. You surround yourself with really good people. I did have one young lady who came to work for me. I'd never had an assistant before, and she had a father in the car business. She was a little bit younger than I was, and she was trying to decide whether this was something that she could do and have a family and have a good career. So she actually came to work for me as my assistant for 9 months and literally just shadowed me. I took her to every meeting. I handed off projects, and I think it was a great experience for both of us, actually. And she's now a finance manager up in a store in Connecticut, and I think has made the commitment that, yes, this is a business she wants to be in. She saw that you really can do it all if you get up really early and stay up late and figure out how to manage it all.
That's one of my passions, is to really be a mentor for women in automotive. Have you had any similar situations?
Yeah, I participate with the Women in Automotive Mentor Program. So there is a mentorship program for any women, and work with Northwood students as well. Mentoring is a big deal for me, because I think that, and I think back to even some of my vendor partners as a dealer, they were my first mentors. I didn't know what I was doing. So calling everybody in, and so I'm active on social media and throw it out there. If you have questions or you need help, anybody at all, reach out to me. I don't care what time it is. A young gal had come up to me at the Women in Automotive Conference, and I was talking to her, and I told her anytime, and she most recently reached out to me, and I called her immediately. She was having an issue. We talked through it. We talked about strategy. She goes, I didn't think you meant it. Like, when you said it, I didn't think it was for real. I said, I would never say it if I didn't mean it. We have to, in order to grow, we have to support each other as women in this business. We do face a unique set of challenges, but they're not unsurmountable. I love what you said about they think we're unicorns. That's awesome. They think we're unicorns. But it's not. It's about supporting each other and helping each other grow. So if anybody is listening here or on the broadcast, tweet me at Next Level Briggs. I'm happy to help with anything.
Now, you mentioned there's a program with Women in Automotive.
Yes, yeah.
So for anyone watching that wants to get a mentor, what do they have to do?
Just go to the Women in Automotive website. It's womeninautomotive.com, and you can get all of the information there. Or again, just reach out to me. I'm happy to get you connected. There are so many women, Lisa Copeland, Subi Ghosh.
She's a rock star.
Yeah, Christy Roman.
Love Lisa.
There are so many of these women who are powerhouses, and they are more than happy to take 10, 15 minutes, an hour of time to help lift another woman in this business up. It's phenomenal.
Now, Alicia, you share another passion that I share. I'm also an active member of the NADA Next Gen, and I think it's something that more dealers should get involved. But can you please give me your opinion as to the importance of dealers getting involved at grassroots, especially in today's political environment?
Yes, I mean, it's, I've done been a member of the Next Gen and the Washington Conference for the last 2 years, and it's really just eye-opening to be able to go and be able to network with all the Next Gen dealers in Washington, and then to be able to go lobby and to do some things for our for the automotive business. So it's definitely a network that I think we can't do without.
It's extremely important because I don't think people realize how difficult it is to get a regulation through, and once it's passed, it's nearly impossible to get it undone, and it affects your daily business. So I think it's great what you do on the state and the federal level, and I want to commend you for that. We definitely need more women to get involved in the grassroots efforts, absolutely. So, Jennifer, and I'm going to ask actually all three of you guys, what advice do you have for women considering a career in automotive? What would you tell them? Would you tell them to run?
No, not at all. I say go for it. I think one of the most unique things with me coming out of the accounting office, I mean, the opportunities are endless. I mean, accounting clerks don't make that much money, but that's a great gateway. You have so many opportunities to support your family, to grow your career, to have a life that you want to have. My advice is jump. Go for it. Don't run. Jump in. And like I said, if you aren't sure what the first steps are, no matter what side you want to be on, just ask somebody. I mean, there's so many people that you can reach out to. Go for it. Chase your dreams is what I say. And you might not know what it looks like, but I'm happy to shed some light on it for you. Just give me a call.
What advice would you have, Eliza?
Well, obviously, and I think all of us would say it's an industry we would strongly encourage women to consider. I think when you look at the customers that come in our dealerships every day, obviously the majority of the decision makers are the women. And I think that for a woman who wants a successful career, there are a lot of opportunities within a dealership. The skill sets that the typical woman, they say, has from a communication standpoint could be extremely successful on the sales floor, but I think the service department is maybe even a better place to start. I say get your feet wet, ask a lot of questions, and don't box yourself in. You might start in one position in a dealership, but you'll learn about another department as you did and end up jumping across into service sales, even parts, technicians, marketing. We do have a lot of women in accounting. It's a great place to start, but I think that over the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot of women branch into the sales and service part of our industry.
Yeah. And for you, what advice would you give?
I think it's the same. I mean, it's the opportunities are tremendous in the car business for women, and it's probably not something that people get out of college or looking to or thinking about that's an opportunity for them to be able to go into. But it's when I started in the car business and I had to go get a job in Wilmington, North Carolina, I was a receptionist to start, and then moved into the accounting office. I wrote service, and then I sold cars. And so it's, in learning the business and being able to have those opportunities, it's also something that, if you move somewhere or you're in a different community, that, it's always a place that you can get a great job, make great money, and it's,
I don't think people realize the economic impact that the automotive industry has for people. I mean, you could really do well and have a good career for yourself. I know many women that are, the breadwinners that work in the industry, and their husbands stay home and take care of the kids. I mean, this is the world that we're in now. Now you both have children. Do you want them to get into the family business? Have you thought about it?
I mean, I would obviously love for them to be. They would be 5th generation, and we'd love to be able to keep our company going. We are an ESOP company. About 26% of our company is owned by our associates, and we'd love to be able to continue that for another 93 years. My dad never put any pressure on me at all, which I think allowed me to make a good decision, and we will certainly not put pressure on our kids, but it would certainly make my day if they wanted to join in. I think the industry is going to look very different in 10 or 15 or 20 years when they're in it, but I strongly believe that the dealers and the franchise system is still going to be there. It might be acting in a different way, but I think it'll still be a fantastic opportunity for our kids.
And would you like your...
And I think the same for me. Right now, I don't feel like they have that's what they want to do, but hopefully, as time goes on, they're in the car business all the time. So they're at the dealership all the time. I mean, Jennifer was there in my store, not too long ago, and my kids were in there, and so it's something that they've grown up around. But I never had any pressure either. So go into the car business was something that was all my decision. So hopefully my kids will make the same one.
You want them to do it, but you're not going to pressure
Right,
them.
I'm not
I
gonna pressure
understand. Now, you're on the vendor side. Are you actively seeking to bring women into your company?
Well, I mean, of course. We've got some phenomenal women that are working in the company already. Actually, that's one of the things that sold me on taking the job. Katie Donovan is just an amazing operator. She's great with customer service. And so when I was approached with this opportunity, I'm like grilling them, and they're like, well, Katie's here. I'm like, oh, yeah, let's go. So I definitely think so. It's just a lot easier from a productivity standpoint, from a communication standpoint. I think that there's so much talent that you have to be looking to bring women in.
For everybody watching, I'm sure they want to get in touch with you. They might have some feedback or additional questions or want you to be a mentor. So we'll start with you, Alicia. Let everybody know how they can reach you. They might want to work for your organization, knowing that you're running such a successful business. But let them know how they could reach you in case they want to follow up.
I guess the easiest way is just on our website. It's donwilliamsonnissan.com. So that's the best
And
way.
Liza, how could they get in touch with you?
I guess our corporate website, cmacars.com, or on Facebook, Liza Borchis. Feel free to message me.
And Jennifer, I know you're big on social media,
Yeah.
What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Facebook, Jennifer Briggs, Twitter, Next Level Briggs, and honestly, you can just text me. 517-366-0219. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. That's the fastest way to get a response.
That is true.
I have a feeling your phone's about to blow up.
I welcome it.
You might have to change the number. Again, my name is Allison Musante, General Manager of Kuhn Honda. You can get in touch with me by going to my website, AllisonMusante.com. I want to thank you for joining us on the NADA live stage. I appreciate you tuning in, and if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us. But career in automotive is a way to go. We're definitely looking to help women achieve that dream. So please reach out. Thank you again.